Up to this point, we've completed coding in SageMaker. Now it's time to take the next steps in building and deploying our machine learning application. We'll utilize Lambda functions, API gateway, and Amplify to bring our project to life, seamlessly integrating it with real-world applications. Friends, before moving further, let us understand the architecture and flowchart of this project. So let's dive in and explore how these services work together to deploy our model.
Hello everyone and welcome back. So in this video, we are going to see the flowchart of our whole process. What are the different steps? How much progress we did so far? So let us see what we did. So we started our whole training with the open source directory, or like Kaggle. We have downloaded the data. That was the loan application data we have downloaded. Then we cleaned that data, and then we utilized our Jupyter notebook for data cleaning as well. And we also did some model testing. We run model in our local machine. We examine our XGBoost model, and we realized that it was working well. And then the next step was we created account in Sage, this AWS console, and then we created S3 bucket. In this S3 bucket, this is kind of, I told you, this is kind of a file location where you can store your data, your file. So we have kept our original data after cleaning in this S3 bucket. And after that, what we did, we used SageMaker, and we built our XGBoost model, and we created endpoint, and we deployed that endpoint. These endpoints were very useful, and within SageMaker, we created notebook, and that notebook, it was utilized for model training, and then we also examined that whether model is working or not. After that, when we are very comfortable, then next step will be Lambda function. Okay, so Lambda function, what exactly this Lambda function is? So in the context of AWS, this is a small piece of code that runs in response to the event. Okay, so remember, we made endpoint here. That endpoint will use for our Lambda function. So we can understand by just thinking about some analogy. Think of like a tiny worker, and that worker, he waits for something to happen, and when it does, he or she jumps into the action to perform a specific task. So that is kind of a crude explanation of Lambda function. These Lambda function are often used to automate tasks, process data, or response to user action without needing to manage servers or infrastructure. So remember, this Lambda function, they are serverless. They are very useful. Okay, so after Lambda function, what we are going to do, we'll use API gateway. API gateway, we need to create an API. That is our whole purpose of this video series. So once Lambda function is working okay, then we'll use API gateway, and with API gateway, we'll connect it with Amplify. So Amplify, this is the final tool for this lecture series, where we'll use HTML file, we'll use endpoint, and we'll use URL, and after using that URL, which will create an API gateway, and then we'll create our web application, final web application. We can use it in the Android or in our laptop, anywhere, for this whole project. So that is kind of whole flow chart for this project. So I hope you might have understand this. If not, please feel free to ask, and then we'll go from there. We'll start for the Lambda function coding. Okay, thank you, take care, bye bye.